on the next Real Life. Get financial freedom from Your Building Bottom Line. Our Moolah Guru is here to help you with the secrets to a money makeover. Call in live, Drowning in Debt, on the next Real Life. Tonight, 6:30 Eastern on CN8.
Are you drowning in debt and looking for a life preserver? Up next on Real Life. Americans love to buy. The giant retailer Walmart just announced its earnings are up 20% despite the recession. But all that shopping means a lot of debt. We love our plastic too. Yesterday on Real Life, we talked to an electronics professor drowning in debt. After he pays his monthly bills, he has only $150 left. Our debt and credit card guru Scott Bilker had some suggestions on how he could improve his cash flow. We'll have Scott back with us today to help those of you drowning in debt. As we go to break, we want to ask all of you, are your debts making your home life unhappy?
You're watching Real Life, awarded for broadcasting excellence with the prestigious 2001 Emmy Award. CN8, now more than ever. Tune in, find out.
According to an article in U.S. News and World Report, in the year 2000, total household debt topped 100% of disposable income for the first time. 2 decades ago, that ratio stood at about 2/3, which means that many of us are spending more money than we have to spend. Welcome back to Real Life. Our topic today, are you drowning in debt? If you are, we've got help here for you. Scott Bilker of DebtSmart.com. He's also the author of the book Credit Card and Debt Management. Yes, Scott, we were talking yesterday with our friend Luis Acevedo, whose debt totaled over $80,000, $150 left in his pocket after he paid his bills every month. You said you were just leaving word for him on the phone. One of the most important things you talked about was talking to the banks, right?
Yes, talking to the banks is so important. You know, a lot of people don't they don't feel comfortable to call the bank. But you know, you can get so much done when you call the banks. You know, it's funny because you know how they call you sometimes?
Yes.
They call you, they're going to give you this low rate. Well, I get calls all the time. They call me 5.9% if you transfer your balance. And I tell them 5.9 is just way too high. And they say, how about 3.9?
Really?
Yes, I say it's still too high. Then they say, how about 1.9? So even when they call you and they offer you a rate, it's not the final rate.
Be proactive. Okay, the other thing you said before we go to the phones was refinance his mortgage, because Lewis had a 11% interest rate on his mortgage. He can do much better than that and save money every month, so he'll have a little more disposable cash in his pocket. We're going to go to the phones. We have Tracy on the line. Hey, Tracy.
Hi, Mary. It's good to talk to you.
Okay, what's your story?
I was watching this show last night, and your consultant, I forget his name, I'm sorry.
Scott, he's right
here. He did bring up a lot of good points. One good point was checking your credit report. I have a friend who actually, she checked her credit report. It had her listed as having addresses that she'd never lived in, credit cards that she'd never owned, and her mother listed as her spouse.
Well, that's an interesting scenario.
On the credit report.
Wow.
And the reason that she checked it, she hadn't checked it for years. The reason she checked it is because she could not get a cellular phone.
Wow.
Because they had her listed as being in collections when she shouldn't have been.
So it was a very wise step that she did that. Now, Scott, do you recommend people check their credit report regularly? How often do you do it?
I check mine like once a year, but definitely you should check your report regularly because you want to find out if there are any mistakes, like Tracy pointed out, that there could be on the report, and you want to take care of those. You know, if there's an error in your report, you can fill out some paperwork that comes with your credit report, and they have to investigate it. And if they can't show that it's accurate, it has to be removed, and there are time limits on this.
And is this a hard thing to do? I don't know if I've ever actually done this. When we were applying for mortgages, of course, you see what you got, but...
Well, no, it's not that difficult to do, but it's a matter of being on top of it and always taking action, being proactive. And you also want to look at that Fair Isaac score, that FICO score, which is something that's going to relate to mortgages.
Okay, and we talked about that yesterday, and that score is actually sort of a numerical summing up of how credit-worthy a risk you are considered. And a good FICO score is, what did you say?
Better than 700 is a good score.
Okay.
And I have a lot of credit cards, and my score is 768.
Oh, you have an excellent score, Scott.
Right, which goes against what a lot of experts say, which
Yeah.
is if you have a lot of credit cards, your score is going to be terrible. That's just not true. If you're good with your credit card and debt management, and you're debt smart about how you handle your finances, then you're going to have a great score all the time.
Okay, we want to go to our next caller. Joe, hi.
Hi. I'm curious if it's wise to take out a loan from a 401k to consolidate debt.
Okay, and that was actually Lewis's situation, I think, yesterday when we talked to him, that he had taken money out to pay back some loans and then found that he was hit with a whopping penalty.
Well, yeah, he did a couple things. He did have a loan on his 401k, but he also took money out and never repaid it. You know, and then he got hit with the penalty.
Okay, so how does that work, the 401k here for Joe?
Well, for many people, you can borrow. You have to check with your administrator of your 401k, but many times you can borrow against your 401k, Joe, and you have to repay it with interest. However, the interest usually goes to you back into your 401k account. I borrowed money from my 401k when I purchased my first house, and it was definitely worth it, and it was a very inexpensive loan. The rates are going to be around 5.5%, so that's certainly something you should look into.
Okay, very good. Thanks for your call, Joe. Gina, hi.
Hi, Mary.
Yes.
I live like a miser. My husband and I argue about this all the time. I'm a nurse and he's a police officer. We make a good salary between us.
Yeah, I bet.
But I put money away constantly. I mean, I constantly put it into the bank. And he's like, oh, let's go out for dinner. I'm like, I'd rather cook. And he's like, let's get you a new car. My car's 11 years old. It runs fine. I'm happy with that. I have 2 boys. We rent movies. I don't like going to the movie theater. I'd rather rent it or buy it. And wait for it to come out on tape. And when I go to get my hair done, it always bothers me to get my nails done too. And I don't. I'd rather, if I want to do my nails, I'll do myself. But I have friends that live way beyond their means, and they think one day that they're just going to have this money to pay off these credit card debts. And my in-laws had a lot of money, and they spent all of it, and now in their 70s, they're in big debt, and I am afraid that's going to happen to me if I live like that.
Well, you know, Gina, your husband's very lucky because
he's got you,
right.
And you're a miser, but that's so good because Americans don't save money.
Right.
We are bad about that, and that is going to come back to haunt us as we age.
Yes, it's very good to be frugal. You know, the general rule I go with is if you don't need it, just don't get it. You know, I don't like to tell people how to spend their money, but when I think about buying stuff, I also think about if there's no place to put it, don't get it too. Because sometimes people get so much stuff. Like a friend of mine just told me the other day that he got this large screen television. He's got 4 other televisions. There's no place to put it, so he ended up having to bring it back anyway.
Well, we should point out that most financial experts will advise you to have about 6 months worth of cash or easily convertible commodities, so that should you lose your job, one of you or both of you lose your very good jobs, you have something to fall back on.
Yeah, that's a great rule of thumb, if you can put it away. Some people, though, have a situation where they're in debt and it's not all their fault. They have medical problems or they lost a job and they were living within their means and then their cash ran out. So it's not always the person's fault when that happens.
Okay. Well, we wish you the best of luck with these marital conflicts over money spending, which are pretty common. We're going to go next to Mary. Hi, Mary.
Hi, how are you today?
Okay. What's up?
Okay, here's my question. I hope it's very basic. My husband and I are in the final stages of refinancing to get out of credit card debt, and he very much wants to go up to the 90%. We're pre-approved for that. I prefer to stay at 85%, but I just want to make sure that we're making the right decision.
And this is the 85% or 90% of the value of your house. Right.
We do need extra cash. We need to catch up on other bills like past taxes that have to be paid, and all the interest and penalties we're paying on that we want to get rid of and just start fresh. It seems like this is the best thing for us to do, but I just need to know that if you want to get out of credit card debt, you want to get your scores up, because our scores are pretty low at the point. Yeah. And I think we're doing the right thing. I guess I just want to hear him say that we're doing the right thing.
Let me ask you this, Mary. Would you be in any danger of bankruptcy in the near future?
I'd like to think not, but you don't know.
Because
I would like to avoid that at all costs.
Because if you're going to refinance your house to pay off credit card debt, and there's a chance you may need to go bankrupt in the near future, then your house is still going, it won't be dissolved in a bankruptcy. You still have to pay on that. So if that's not an issue, personally, I would refinance as much as possible, because the best loan is the cheapest loan. And if by refinancing you're getting a better rate because of the tax advantage plus the rate they're giving you. What is the rate for the refinance?
Actually, it's at 8.2.
Oh, that's great.
That's a good rate.
And what about the rate on the credit cards?
I'm sorry?
What about the rate on the credit cards?
Oh, of course. You know, they're in double digits.
Okay, well, you know, an 8.2, after you take into account the tax advantages, is about less than 7. And now you're talking about, you know, rates in the teens for the credit cards. It's a wise move. I would take as much as I can, pay it off, but once those credit lines are free, I would not buy anything with them. I'd leave them
open.
Exactly.
You got to change your spending ways. Best of luck, Mary. We are going to take a quick break. Our question to you: has your credit card debt hurt you when you applied for a loan, car loan, mortgage, whatever? Give us a call. We'll be right back. Coming up on Real Life on Wednesday, Generating Hope, we will meet Denny Cipollini, who lost his leg in a car accident and is hiking and biking from Pittsburgh to Philadelphia to raise awareness and acceptance of children with disabilities. You'll love Denny. On Thursday, psychic Barbara Mackey is here to predict what lies ahead in your future, and we'll tell you how to enter to win a free reading right here on Real Life. That's pretty exciting. Okay, welcome back to Real Life. Our topic today: are you drowning in debt? My guest is Scott Bilker of the website www.debtsmart.com and publisher of the online DebtSmart newsletter. Okay, we are going to go right to the phones. Our first caller is Marty. Hello? Is he there? Okay, shall we go to our next caller? Who?
Hello?
Joan, yeah, go ahead.
Yes. My problem is I've always paid my credit cards on time. I owe like $15,000. I went to apply for a loan, and I have 7 outstanding credit cards, but I only used 4, and they wouldn't give it to me. They wouldn't give me the loan because I had too many credit cards, which I don't understand that.
Okay, well, you know, a lot of people are going to turn you down because you have too many credit cards. Let me ask you this. What are the rates of the credit cards you have now with the $15,000?
All right, one I owe $12,000 is it's about 15%. I know it's high. When I call them to get it lower, they'll say, well, I only can go 1 point lower. They'll give me this big song and dance. They can't drop it.
Well, if they would go 1 point lower, take the 1 point. Do you have any available credit on those other cards?
Oh, yeah, I have lots of credit. I have like about $75,000 in credit that I could spend if I max them all out.
Okay, so you have $75,000 available dollars and only $15,000 in debt, yes?
No, $15,000.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But $75,000 available.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Lower your rate this way. Call those other banks that you have the available credit with and say, here's the story. If you give me a rate today for at least 6 months of like 3.9, I'll transfer $15,000 right now.
Really?
Yes, try that, and you're going to find out they're going to bend over backwards for you.
Yeah.
And if they come back with 9.9, that all we can do is 9.9. Say, okay, well, I'm going to have to call like my other credit cards. I think you can do better than that. You're going to be surprised how low they're going to go.
Yeah, one I had like 2.9, and that was great. I was paying like 2.9 for 6 months. All of a sudden, it went zoom. It went right up. Yeah.
Right. Well, that's a difficult. I mean, how do you pay off such a large debt? $15,000 is a lot of money to pay off. What would you do with that?
Well, to eventually pay it off, you know, it's going to take Joan to have more money.
Yeah.
And to earn more money and apply more money towards that debt. But it should never sit at a higher rate. Mm-hmm. Paying off that debt is also keeping the rate low, because then all the money that she would go to spend in fees, she can then use to pay off the principal.
And now, before we go to our next caller, I want to ask on Joan's behalf the questions that is underlying this. Should she get rid of 3 or 4 credit cards?
Well, at this point, I really don't think so. I think she shouldn't spend anything on those cards because she's got so much available credit compared to how much debt she has. She can keep making them fight for that $15,000 until the day comes where she can pay it off. I'd rather have them fight for it and be able to keep it at 0, because once she pays off those people that are charging her 15%, she can call them and say, look, lower the rate now or I'll transfer my balance, and you'll be begging me to come back and begging me to have a lower rate. So why don't you save yourself the trouble and do it right now?
But then what do you do when you can't get a loan? What would you do in that case?
Well, if she has no choice but to close some accounts to get a loan, she may have to do that. However, there's definitely exceptions to that. Every bank has their own criteria.
So she should look around loan-wise as well.
Keep shopping. Your credit must be good. She wouldn't have so many cards.
Okay, we're going to go to our next caller. Gail, hi.
Hi, how are you?
Fine, thanks.
Good. My question is about when you're drowning in credit card debt and you've had several charge-offs and they go on your credit report, can you still make arrangements to pay those, and does the credit, I mean, what if you just can't pay them, but they stay on your credit report for how long?
Well, negative information can stay in your credit report for 7 years. And with these charge-offs, if you want to pay them back, Gail, and you contact the bank, you may be able to negotiate a settlement with them where you can pay them off at half the amount of the original charge. Have you tried to do that, Gail?
Yes, I have.
And what has been the result?
Not open for any discussion at all.
It's all in settlement?
Yes.
I mean, it's all in collections, or they're trying to just get it from you?
Yes.
Okay, well then you may be forced to just deal with them directly and pay whatever, at least some of those terms that they want as far as getting it paid back. What other options have you looked into?
Well, I tried to go to the consumer credit counseling, and that's what I'm presently trying to do now.
And what happened there?
I'm in the process of applying.
Okay. Well, you know, again, a lot of times that's going to be reported on your credit history, too, when you work with them. But see what they have to say. You know, my opinion of debt counseling is that it's, in some ways, voluntary collection, because you're going to them and they get a little bit of the payments that you make to the bank. But if they can help you, and they definitely can reduce your costs, then it's worthwhile. You should always explore every option: debt counseling, refinancing, talking to the banks, see what they all have to say, and then make a good decision.
Okay, Gail, we wish you the best of luck. We're going to go next to John. Hi.
Hi, I'm John. I just have a question. Should I refinance my house for my credit card debt?
Well, John, are you facing a bankruptcy anytime soon?
No.
Okay, well that's good. What are the rates on your credit cards?
I have several different ones. But what I'm trying to say is, if I go in for a loan, I just went in for a loan, by the way, and they said it would be at 11% on the process of my house.
For a refinance, 11%?
Yes. And
that's a little high.
It's a 3-year thing, and they said it would decrease over the next 2 years to 8%.
I'd still say that that's a little high for a second mortgage or a home equity. I would definitely shop around, because that would definitely be high. But if it's better than your current rates, then it's a better loan, because the best loan is the least expensive loan. And as far as should you do it, I would do it if it saves money, but you have to look at your other options too. If you can refinance those other credit cards with other credit cards that you have available at a lower rate, then that might be something to do for now, and while you're shopping, to get a better rate on your mortgage.
You know, Scott, I think for all the people who are talking about refinancing to pay off credit card debt, we should mention your basic premise here, that you're not in favor of that generally, to take an unsecured loan, right, which is your credit card debt, and secure it to your house.
Yeah, in general, I would try to avoid that unless it's your last option, because now you're putting your house at risk for more debt. But if it's going to save a lot of money, then do it, you know, especially if you're in a good financial situation. Some people, they might have had the credit card debt when they just started their jobs, and then they had the mortgage. Now they're making more money,
right,
and now their house is worth more, and they're in a good position financially, so it makes sense to get the tax benefit and the lower rate if that works out that way, and then do it and refinance the house. But in general, if you're on the financial edge, think carefully before refinancing your home to pay off credit cards.
Okay, we're going to go to break. We will be back to wrap up and take as many of your calls as possible, so hang on those lines. We'll be right back. Next time on Real Life, we will meet Denny Cipollini, who lost a leg in a car accident and is now biking and hiking his way from Pittsburgh to Philadelphia. He will share his story of loss, perseverance, and overcoming adversity. That's next time. It's a show you won't want to miss. Welcome back to Real Life. We are wrapping up on our topic today, Are You Drowning in Debt? Scott Bilker wants to let all of you know, first 3 emails to our site, www.cn8.tv, and then you have to look under programming for Real Life, we will give you a free credit card and debt management book and the software, the first 3 emails to the site. Okay, we're going to go to the phones. Yes. Sue, hi.
This is Sue from Lakewood.
Yes.
Scott mentioned earlier the numerical credit score that he had.
The FICO.
And I am thoroughly frustrated because no matter what I do, none of the credit companies ever answers me when I ask them for that number. What do I do?
Well, you can get a hold of that number by buying it online at myfico.com, myfico.com, and you'll get your whole credit report and that FICO score.
And how much does that cost?
Last time I got it was $13.95.
Not bad. Okay, so there's a place to go, myfico.com. Bob, you're up.
Okay, hey, Scott.
How you doing, Bob?
You're going to have to do another show on this one, too. But I got mine from Privacy Guard, the score, and I sit at 646 with a 3-star category. But I have credit cards. I have numbers of credit cards, but I pay a lot on my credit cards, like over the payments, like $200 or $100. I don't pay the minimum balance. But yet, when I apply for a gas card or something, they turn me down, saying I'm too much in debt or derogatory debt because I had one bad spot on my credit report.
Is that there's only one bad spot on your credit report?
A gas card a long time ago.
What happened with that card?
I paid it off.
Okay. So you know what? Get a copy of your credit report. Well, you already did that. You can.
A copy of it in my hand as I'm speaking to you.
Well, you can add. Bob, you can add like 100 words to your credit report explaining your situation about that one particular card, so that way when other creditors look at your credit report, they're going to see your side of the story there. So that might be helpful. Also, it sounds like you're doing pretty good if you're paying more than the minimum every month, and your only problem is that one card.
Always, but like I said, I refinanced my house, and I was paying 8.75. I'm down to 6.25 now.
Wow,
that's great.
That's really good.
And from a 30-year mortgage to a 15.
Great.
Good job.
You know, but yet still, if I go for the
yeah, that's really frustrating. You know, you've gotten a great rate on your mortgage, but the gas people are saying, "Oh no, we're not going to go near you." But that's a very important point. You can add your side of the story to the credit report, so do that, Bob. We're going to go to Michelle. Hi.
Hi, Mary. How are you?
Fine, thanks.
The question I have for Scott is, what is the difference and what would be better? I hear that there's programs for debt negotiators now. Where there's a fee that you pay and they negotiate your debt rather than the lower interest rates, they negotiate the balances.
Well, the deal with that is they're going to negotiate a settlement on your account, many of them. I mean, that's probably what it is. You can ask them. But when they negotiate a settlement, you might pay off, say, half the amount on the credit card. And I've done this for some friends of mine. You'll be able to pay off half the amount that you owe. However, it's going to be reflected in your credit report that it was a settlement. So it will have a negative impact on your credit history. Now, as far as doing that or like debt consolidation or like debt counseling, you should consider all your options again. Look into that debt negotiation, look into the settlement option, but also look into being more debt smart about strategizing lower interest rates with your existing credit cards. Are you in a position to do that, Michelle?
No. No.
How much do you owe, Michelle?
Earlier, okay. I just had spent, and before you know it, it gets out of control.
Right.
So my options are, credit counseling or the debt negotiator right now.
Mm-hmm. And both of those are going to show up on your report.
Yeah,
right?
Both of them will have a negative impact on her report. But then again, it depends what else she wants to do. If she wants to get a mortgage in the future, in the very near future, then she should seriously consider holding off on that until...
Holding off on debt negotiation?
Yeah, or either option until she sees what's going to happen with the mortgage. So.
Right, okay. And always you go back to the credit card companies and see what you can do in terms of lowering your interest rate and squeezing more money. Scott Bilker, as usual, a fascinating half hour. I want to thank all of our callers. We hope you all are debt smart and you do better with your cash flow. See you all. Bye.